Good afternoon. I'd like to share with you the assessment report for my student Jimmy. Jimmy is a 10-year, 6-month-old male with a diagnosis of specific learning disability. He currently resides with his mother, 12-year-old sister, 3-year-old sister, and maternal aunt. Spanish is the native language spoken in the home. His parents are divorced and there is very little contact with the biological father. Jimmy considers his mother's previous boyfriend a father figure and continues to have contact with him. At home, Ms. Jimenez reports that Jimmy is a well-behaved boy and she has no social or emotional concerns. There were no reported complications prenatally and Jimmy was born via cesarean section. He was discharged from the hospital within expected timeframes. His acquisition of speech and language was delayed. Spanish was Jimmy's first language and continues to be spoken in the home. He was initially referred by his mother to the New York City School District Child Study Team in 2019 due to concerns with his ability to keep up with the academic demands of second grade. The Child Study Team determined that Jimmy was eligible for related services and therefore received speech and language therapy as well as counseling. Upon transferring to Fair Lawn, New Jersey in the summer of 2021, Jimmy was placed in a 4th grade general education classroom and received speech and language counseling services, as per the previously completed New York City IEP. It was reported by his teacher that Jimmy struggles with processing verbal directions and putting them into action. Because of this, he is rarely on task, doing his work or following directions. This is causing him to have difficulty with the material being taught in class as well as being able to complete his homework. There are no reported behavioral concerns. In the middle of October of 2021, an IEP was provided to the Fair Lawn, New Jersey district from New York, which noted classification in the New York City School District under speech and language impairment. Jimmy's IEP included only related services for speech and language and counseling. The current IEP is a result of a reevaluation to determine whether he met eligibility criteria for special education in the state of New Jersey. Jimmy was determined to be eligible for services under the category of specific learning disability. He no longer needs speech and language and counseling. Currently, he will spend 80% or more of the school day in the presence of regular education students. In the cognitive area, Jimmy was administered the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children, which is an intelligence test that measures the child's intellectual ability. It is used for the purpose of identifying an intellectual disability, giftness, specific learning disability, placement in specialized programs, and clinical interventions. It produces a full-scale IQ that compares a student to other students of their age. According to the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children, Jimmy's IQ is 80, placing him in the 9th percentile, which falls in the low average. The Verbal Comprehension Index measures the ability to use and understand words and evaluates general language ability. Jimmy's score of 98 places him in the 45th percentile and falls in the average range. The General Ability Index provides an estimate of general intelligence that is less impacted by working memory and processing speed. It was significantly higher than the full-scale IQ. The General Ability Index score was 86, placing him in the 18th percentile. His comparative reasoning skills and verbal abstract reasoning skills are below average for his age. His knowledge of word meanings and verbal expressions are also below average for his age. The Visual Spatial Index measures the ability to evaluate visual details and to understand visual spatial reasoning. This index assessed Jimmy's ability to understand visual nonverbal concepts. His score of 102 places him in the 55th percentile and falls in average range. Jimmy scored in the very low range within the Fluid Reasoning Index, which measures his ability to use his previously learned knowledge to work through novel situations. The Fluid Reasoning Index score was 76, placing him in the 5th percentile. Jimmy's fluid reasoning ability suggests that he may experience some difficulty identifying important information and or linking this information to abstract concepts in order to solve problems as compared to others of his age. Jimmy scored in the average range within the Working Memory Index, which evaluated his concentration and attention. His Working Memory Index score was 97, placing him in the 42nd percentile. Lastly, within the Processing Speed Index, Jimmy scored in the extremely low range, receiving a score of 66, placing him in the 1st percentile. Assessing his ability to complete simple tasks within a time limit, the processing speed provides the information necessary to understand how fast he is able to understand and complete simple tasks. His strengths. Jimmy is able to use and understand words and evaluates general language ability, and has general language ability. His needs: Jimmy may benefit from having less information presented at one time, as well as the use of strategies such as chunking information and teaching him to connect newly presented information to previously learned concepts. In the area of communication, Jimmy underwent a speech-language evaluation. Through this evaluation, he was compliant during all tasks. The clinical evaluation of language fundamentals was administered to assess receptive language skills, which refers to understanding what is told to him, and expressive language skills, which is the ability to express himself and his needs. The results revealed that for receptive language, Jimmy has average performance scoring in a score of 86, and for the expressive one-word picture vocabulary test, which assesses Jimmy's ability to name objects, actions, or concepts presented in full color pictures, he achieved a standard score of 91, which correlates to a percentile ranking of 27. These scores place his expressive language skills in the average range of functioning. Jimmy's strength is that he is able to understand information given to him and can express his thoughts and needs. In the academic performance category, Jimmy was administered a series of subtests from the Woodcock-Johnson test of achievement to assess his current academic performance. These tests are useful for screening, diagnosing, and monitoring progress in reading, writing, and mathematic achievement areas. The score results in this report are based on comparing his scores with students of his same age. Jimmy's basic reading skills scored him 102, placing him in the 56th percentile. His reading comprehension score is a 90, placing him in the 25th percentile. Both results were within the average range. Reading fluency score was 88, placing him in the 21st percentile. Math calculation skills, the score was 83, placing him in the 12th percentile. And the written expression score was 87, placing him in the 20th percentile. These scores were within the low average range. Math problem-solving skills were scored at 71, placing him at a 3rd percentile, which falls within the low range. Jimmy's academic skills score was 91, placing him in the 27th percentile, and this was within the average range, but the ability to apply learned skills to grade levels, to grade level tasks, scored him an 84 in the area of applications. This places him in the 15th percentile, and these were within the low average range. Jimmy's SPED related to academic tasks, meaning the academic fluency, scored an 81, placing him in the 10th percentile. It was also within the low average range. Jimmy's basic reading skills were considered an area of significant strength, whereas his math problem solving was an area of significant weakness when compared to Jimmy's other academic abilities. Jimmy's strength is that he is able to formulate basic sentences when provided specific and concrete information. His particular need is that he would benefit from activities that will activate his prior knowledge. He also may benefit from having visuals such as charts with step-by-step procedures to assist him in math. This concludes the explanation of the test results for Jimmy.